Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Ware Brothers podcast. We're coming at you on March 27th, 2022, and we're here Sunday night recording another episode 9. Brolowski, how are you?
Hey! I don't want people thinking we're Russian.
Oh,
Brolowski. That was a terrible impersonation.
it sounds something like a Russian, I guess.
He does not break.
What doesn't break?
Rocky.
Oh,
Dolph Lundgren.
I've never seen Rocky.
What? Rocky 4?
I've seen bits and pieces of them all.
All right, we're gonna pause the podcast so Ken's gonna watch Rocky 4, and then we're gonna come back at you. And we're back.
Wow, what amazing movies! I can't believe he wins.
Well, he lost in the first one.
Oh, but yeah. Hold on, we'll be right back. So can you go rewatch the first one?
Dude, so I've definitely seen all of 4, and I've seen bits and pieces of the others. But the crazy thing is, the first one to the second one, he's like in good shape in the first one. The second one, friggin' Stallone is like a chiseled Greek god. I mean, he doesn't. I bet you he's walking around at like 2% body fat in the second one. His stomach, I mean, you could literally iron stuff off his stomach in the second one. It was just crazy to see its transformation from the first to the second one. Very off topic.
That's pretty detailed, Taylor.
I'm just saying. Let's pause.
So
look at a picture.
So on the gaming side of things.
Oh yes. Yeah. Gaming. That's what we're here for.
How are you? How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm playing a good chunk of Elden Ring this weekend. Nice. So that's been good. Sinking my teeth back into that. Gave Destiny a little pause, and glad I picked up Elden Ring. Picked that back up. I actually restarted a new character, so that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know you told me you're gonna jump deep into Elden Ring. I've been pretty deep into Super Mario 3D World. I got that with Bowser's Fury 2 weeks ago, and I'm just past or on some portion of Star Road at the moment. But I gotta say, within like the first couple of levels, it was already probably one of my favorite like Mario games that I've played. That game, I know I'm late to the party. It came out like 2013, but it's been great. I love it.
The what system did that originally come out for?
The Wii U.
Okay, so You say you're late to the party, but there's probably a handful of people. Like, no, not just a handful. There's probably a lot of people who never played it. So I can't remember, when did it end up coming out? Just recently, right? For the Switch?
Yeah, so when it came out for the Switch, that was when they comboed it with Bowser's Fury. So the Bowser's Fury is a new portion. So I haven't actually gotten into that part of it yet. I'm almost done 3D World, and then you can select the Bowser's Fury portion of it afterwards.
But, gotcha.
Yeah, everything I've seen in 3D World, again, I know this might not be breaking news, but it's been awesome. I've just loved it's like taking all the greatest parts of a 3D like Super Mario 64 and like giving it like the sweetest platforming portions from like Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World. So I big fan.
Awesome. I'm really glad that you like it. I'll have to check it out at some point next time we meet up.
That's right, you will.
Yeah.
I said so.
Question for you. Have you heard anything on the new Kirby game?
I've heard nothing like official, but
I actually haven't seen any reviews on it or anything, so I'm not even sure how it's being received.
Seen a few headlines that said the latest. Actually, I just saw one before we started tonight saying that it is like worth all the hype. They've been like everything I've seen about it. Yeah, and I'm part of a bunch of video game pages on Facebook as well. And there's been a ton of people commenting on it who's gotten it, saying that like how great it is and they love it. And it's everything for a 3D platformer like Kirby should have. So everything I've seen so far has been positive. I haven't seen any bad reviews about it yet. So
I'm gonna look up right now what the Metacritic score is actually, because I am quite curious. Yeah, it looks like it's holding a 84 for its Metascore, which is really good, and for its user score, it's holding an 8.8. So, yeah, I'd say that's for a brand new Kirby game. I'd say that's pretty good.
which is good. I feel like Kirby's been one of those things over the years that hasn't gotten enough love from Nintendo. Like I said, I've only played a handful of Kirby games, but it's I felt like it's always been a tier down franchise for Nintendo, right behind like Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda is kind of that like Metroid Kirby level.
Yeah, I'd say if certainly obviously Kirby's the creator was also the guy behind and I apologize, I don't remember his name, but he's the guy that's behind the Super Smash Brothers games. So I think that if Kirby wasn't in Super Smash Brothers, maybe he wouldn't have stayed as relevant as, you know.
So close, actually, it's funny you bring up Super Smash Brothers because just yesterday, so I've recently been following along on there's YouTube channel, The Gaming Historian, and just yesterday I watched his 2-part story on the creation of Super Smash Brothers. And no, the guy who created Kirby is not the same guy who created Super Smash Brothers. But if anybody hasn't ever seen it, his story in Super Smash Brothers is pretty cool. It was a guy who he was part of. It's HAL Laboratories is who the guy came from who made Super Smash Brothers.
But isn't Kirby his character that he created?
No. Nope. He's part of the Super Smash Brothers series, but no, I don't. I'm like 99% sure it's a different guy. Hey Ken, how about you look that up?
I'm gonna look that up real quick.
I could be putting my foot in my mouth, but I would have thought somewhere in the story of talking about Super Smash Brothers, he would have mentioned something about that, but he did not. So I don't think it's the same guy. Anyways, while you're looking that up, I will. We'll jump into a couple things for the news if you're good with that, Ken.
I am good with that. Why don't you kick us off with the news that you're bringing to us this week?
Yeah. So first thing, I think it's important to touch on this. As lighthearted as this podcast is, and mostly talking about gaming, there's certainly some serious issues going on around the world right now. And this first one I thought was really important. So Epic Games and Xbox said they're going to donate 2 weeks of Fortnite proceeds to support Ukraine efforts. It's just, I know there's a ton of places out there and a ton of companies doing stuff to help Ukraine against Russia. It's just so sad to see what's going on over there. Where I work, we have the news on in the background all the time, and all I'm seeing is just the death and destruction going on over there, and it's absolutely horrible. So anything that can be done to help is excellent. So I just thought it was pretty cool to see that Epic Games and Xbox are going to be donating a pretty substantial chunk of change to the relief efforts over there.
That is, I really like to, I really like seeing that. Quick interjection.
Go.
Kirby, he was created by Masahiro Sakurai, who also created this was Super Smash Brothers series. So,
yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. So I just
okay. My mistake. Ken, job well done. I just watched a 2-part series on it, and nowhere in there did they mention that he was the creator of Kirby. Good job.
Oh. So anyway, sorry.
I probably should have known that because like a week ago I did watch a series on Kirby, so I probably missed the fact that it was the same guy.
Well, you learn something new every day. Happy I could enlighten you a little bit.
Thank you. The more you know. The more you know.
I feel a lot better. I thought I was crazy. I'm like, no, I swear to God, it's the same guy.
I'm telling you.
Masahiro Sakurai. That's right.
Good job.
Anywho.
Moving on. So other piece of news, for those of you who are Witcher fans, CD Projekt Red has confirmed that a new Witcher game is in development and it will use the Unreal Engine 5. That
is really cool. Obviously, a huge, massive, very popular RPG. You've never played any of the Witcher games?
No, I have not.
So that is a game that I have tried playing, specifically The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I have tried playing probably 3 to 4 times. Mm-hmm. It's a massive RPG, very, large open world. I get there's like a like a starting sort of island that you go through, and then the game just opens up to like bigger islands after that, and bigger land masses. And every time I get through that little island, the game expands, and then I fall off. I just, for whatever reason, I like I said, I've tried it 3 or 4 times, and I just cannot get past it. Like there's this little quest that you do, like I'm sure there's other quests like this where you have to escort someone, and
I hate those.
and then like so like you're escorting him, and then he like aggroes a pack of wolves and the wolves kill him and the quest fails, and it's like, well, like he's dead, like the quest just failed, and
Way to
then
go.
so then it's like, oh, like I gotta restart, I gotta restart the save because also like like how most gamers are, they're like, oh, well, quest failed, oh, no big deal. No gamer ever says that. You gotta complete everything. And I just couldn't do it. I just fell off. It just one RPG that I could not get into.
That reminds me, in Resident Evil 4, there's a section where you have to escort the president's daughter, and it's one of those you like have to protect her at all costs from like injury and death. Oh, it's so frustrating. Like
that's not just the whole section. I mean, that like we're talking like the latter half of the game.
Yeah, there's a big part, and it's like, can I just give you a gun and you can start shooting stuff, please?
Exactly.
Yeah. So moving on, Switch news. There was a new update. It was huge. You can now have folders. How amazing is that? Yep, I know, right? Yeah, folders. Who would have thought? And there was also a Bluetooth update. Woohoo!
That's cool. It helps
cool,
keep things organized instead of just having to scroll across, all that. So have you done the update? Have you made any folders on your Switch?
No, I like did the update, like sweet. And then I looked at it, I'm like, everything looks exactly the same. And I haven't created. I only have like a handful of games, so I don't really need a folder. But
yeah,
if I had a folder, each folder would just be its own game right now. Yeah. I'm like, a folder for this and a folder for that. And anyways, yeah.
And this looks exactly the same.
It's right now. It's one step more I have to go to get to my stupid game. What a great update. Anyways, I guess if you have like dozens of games, it would work well. If you want to like group your like platformers with your RPGs with your whatevers. Anyways, I thought this was cool since I'm such a big Mass Effect fan. The co-creator, Casey Hudson from Humanoid Studios, working on an all-new science fiction universe.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, no mention on what the game is or anything, but that's always cool. And another side note here, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection, as well as Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak Collector's Edition, now available for pre-order this week.
Oh boy.
So there's that. And lastly, this seems to be in our news every week for the last 3 weeks. Yet another Elden Ring speed run has been completed, 24 minutes 37 seconds, using a glitch called the Zip.
The Zip.
You know anything about this?
I got no idea. No.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've never played it, but apparently, from what I understand, there's a glitch where you can like teleport and quote unquote zip. And I don't really know how it all works, but apparently somebody else broke the record, sub 25 minutes. Way to go!
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
See, since I haven't beaten the game myself, I'm like have done my best to avoid as far as like the actual like big boss fights and stuff. So I don't want to spoil myself on that, but I am very curious to see how the speedruns have kind of worked out. So I will check that out once I beat the game in about 250 hours.
Oh, perfect. There you go. You have something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Death, taxes, and beating Elden Ring.
I can't wait. Then I can start New Game Plus.
All right, Ken, what do you got for us for your news this week?
So what I got for you is the new NVIDIA RTX 3090 Ti. Yep. That's okay. The RTX 3090 Ti is supposed to be releasing very soon. And according to some rumors, just if anyone has $4,000 lying around and looking on what to maybe spend it on, hey, buy yourself a NVIDIA RTX 3090 Ti. Why not, right?
$4,000.
Yeah, so a lot of these GPUs that are coming out, especially this is one of the top end ones. NVIDIA does have one higher line, the 4090, the 40s variants that are also more expensive than the $4,000 price tag. But all these high end GPUs, of course, with the chip shortages and in the past since the coronavirus, GPUs and just chip shortages and chips themselves, processors and stuff have gone through the roof as far as pricing goes. We have started to see some decline in the cost of GPUs, which is good. One thing that's supposed to be helping with that is, I didn't know this actually until I was doing this research for the news this week, is I didn't realize that Intel is actually going to be jumping into the GPU market, which I find pretty interesting because it's always pretty much just been AMD or NVIDIA. And now obviously you've had AMD and Intel with processors. Now Intel is jumping into the GPU market. So I'll be really curious to see if they can come in with, like, comparable power and price, and see how they can shake up that kind of GPU competition. So I found that yeah, very, very interesting. And they're saying that the new graphics card coming out from NVIDIA is supposed to be very large and take up a large portion in people's PCs. So make sure that for the use out, like, so I can't remember what card it was they said, but might be this one, even the one actually might have been the 4090. If anyone spent all this money on that, needs about 600 watts of power just to power the GPU itself. So yeah, so
I know your birthday's coming up, but you will not be getting one of these from me.
What are you talking about? You promised me that you were going to get me. No. So it's always been my dream to kind of build a top end gaming rig. So when I win that Powerball, I know what's
Powerball. You mean when this explodes beyond the millions of people already listening?
That's true.
The world? That's right. Or if anybody feels like donating a top of the line $10,000 power rig to Ken or Taylor.
Oh, yeah, or if NVIDIA wants to sponsor us and sends us our own gaming rigs, we're open.
They're like,
we're open to that.
Just think of how we can increase the business with all the people listening to this podcast. Exactly.
So moving on, we have some Destiny 2 news. I find this interesting also because I'm a big Destiny 2 player, and one of the content creators that I listen to on YouTube, Aztecross, he released a video saying that, this may be my last video. So of course I was like, well, what the heck is he talking about there? So he got hit with copyright strikes. And if you are unaware, anytime a YouTuber, I think it's pretty much like the 3 strike rule. So you get one, the video gets pulled, or any subsequent videos, you get 2 strikes, and I think that you're unable to upload for a certain amount of time. And if you get 3 strikes, your account and videos and everything get deleted, gone. You get the axe. And so it's a very scary thing, and obviously a lot of YouTubers have dealt with copyright strikes for really silly things that just shouldn't be. And this is kind of what this was. I first looked at it as almost like not something that wasn't supposed to happen. And at first people were speculating if it was because the Sony acquisition of Bungie. I guess Sony is very strict when it comes to copyright claims, especially for like their products. So people were speculating that maybe because Sony now purchasing Bungie, maybe they're getting more stricter on content creators and things like that. But since it first initially happened, Bungie has come out saying that the takedowns were fraudulent, and they are working with Google to resolve the issues. And then moving forward, they're going to try to let content creators have a little bit more leeway with their videos, specifically in the realm of using music from the game in their videos. So thankfully, I'm glad that it was resolved and is being, these guys aren't, because I mean these guys. Another one is My Name is Bife, who's a huge lore guy and does a ton of lore videos on Destiny. These guys, this is their life. This is their full-time job. So it'd really suck to see something like this happen to them, and let alone any content creator. So
yeah, I can understand how frustrating that can be, and at the same time, it feels so weird if I was a Sony or even Nintendo or Microsoft or whoever. It'd be one thing if these people were putting out stuff that was like putting down my product or like saying how terrible it was or something like that. But I understand that these people are profiting off of their videos, but at the same time, they're like promoting the product as well. Like you would think Sony or something like that, like as long as you're doing it, due service and justice for it, you'd want to encourage people to do this and not like hit them with these things. It kind of gets crazy at some point. And for instance, I just read this week somebody had uploaded. Did you hear anything about this? That somebody had uploaded high res digital photos from I think it was Super Mario 64 player's guide, and Nintendo slapped them with a cease and desist order to stop showing this stuff from 26 years ago. It's for Super Mario 64, for crying out loud. And again, they're just putting it out there for free content. Like, oh, hey, I have this player's guide. It'd be kind of cool to share this. And Nintendo is like, yeah, you need to stop that. Cease and desist. We control all of our stuff. It's like, Nintendo, are you serious? 26 years ago is when the game came out. All they're doing is uploading some high-res photos of a player's guide, for crying out loud. It's not even like they're making money off it or charging somebody for it. So I just think some of these places are going a little overboard with trying to control the content. Like, again, I would get it if people were putting down the product or, you know, poo-pooing all over it, but they're promoting your product. Like, you should encourage that. It's just weird to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that it is very strange, and Nintendo is certainly a huge. They are one of the top ones who they get very jealous. I guess, you know, they're like that jealous, you know, girlfriend that's just like, no, these are my products. No one's gonna talk about the games other than me. No, you know.
But it's like, ease up there, buddy. Take a chill
but
pill.
Nintendo, we love you and support you, and if you want to support us,
100%. I love you.
So I found that interesting. I was glad to see that. Like I said, I'm glad to see that Bungie, you know, came out and made everything
Defended
okay.
them. Yeah, that's good.
So
what else you got?
So the next two stories are kind of in the same realm of things. We're talking about gaming streaming services. Mm-hmm. So starting with Netflix has acquired, I didn't even realize they've acquired two other previously, but they just acquired their third gaming company, Boss Fight Entertainment. Third gaming company acquired in the last 6 months. Boss Fight Entertainment's founder has said Boss Fight's mission is to bring simple, beautiful.
Sorry, no, I think I mistranslated that. Yeah, beautiful.
There, I was gonna say, like, I don't remember saying that word. Beautiful and fun game experiences to our players wherever they want to be. Netflix paid $74 million for Finnish mobile developer Next Games earlier this month and acquired developer Night School Studios back in 2021. And I didn't even I knew about Netflix foray into like a gaming streaming service, but I didn't realize that their focus was on mobile gaming. And
can I ask you a question about this?
Yeah.
Now, so when you're talking about like streaming, so like Netflix isn't looking at like developing video games, or are they? Or is this just like a way to stream, kind of like what Twitch has?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I from like I said, when this was first, you know, brought up maybe a year or so ago, you know, there's been like rumors going around that Netflix was looking into, you know, video game streaming services and stuff. And so I guess in my head, my impression was, oh, you know, if you have a Netflix account, you can choose to watch movies or you can choose to play games. But so I'm not sure how they're going to jump into the mobile gaming side of the things. Not sure what that's about, but it's in a letter to investors, Netflix said that we view gaming as another new content category for us, similar to our expansion into original films, animation, and unscripted TV. Games will be included in members' Netflix subscriptions at no additional cost, similar to films and series. So that's, you know, that could be pretty cool. Like I said, I mean, obviously, I'd say the majority of people out there, I would think, for gamers, probably are mobile gamers. Honestly, I mean, the you know, the amount of people like you and me who have consoles probably are outnumbered by people who just solely game on their phones. So I could see Netflix doing well with that, and I'll say at no additional cost to the subscriptions. But I don't have a Netflix subscription myself, but I have heard that Netflix has come out saying that their subscription is going to be going up here soon. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Or it's going to be. I think it just did last month. Maybe it went up like $1 or something like that.
So
I don't have a subscription service with them either. So
I think it's a, you know, it's a little not honest when they say at no additional cost, and because they're just kind of
like if you have the subscription, you have the subscription type of thing. Like regardless
No, right,
of what we charge for it.
but before they're releasing the gaming
I see what you're
service,
saying.
they're now increasing, and so it's kind of like they kind of have baked that extra in without people really realizing it.
Shake and bake, baby.
I guess. So, do you have any interest in this? Would you have any interest in picking up Netflix now?
I guess once I knew more about it and like what games were available, and is it like if they're solely produced and created by Netflix, I don't know. I guess I'd have to find out more about it. Um, it'd be interesting to see again, like if it's like purely a streaming service base, where like kind of like Twitch, where you're just like watching other people play video games. Like I would see that being much more up their alley than actually like creating and developing games. But I mean, who knows? I mean, they got billions upon billions of dollars, so they could jump in, I guess, and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Who am I to stop Netflix?
No one.
That's right.
You can't. You're nobody. No,
nobody.
You're Taylor Powell. You can stop
right.
Netflix if you wanted to. I wouldn't try though.
I wouldn't. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Netflix, we're on good terms. Please don't censor me.
Taylor, when I say Spartacus, what do you think of?
I think of the greatest TV show of all time.
Wrong answer.
What?
You should think PlayStation.
Okay.
Codename Spartacus, because PlayStation codename Spartacus, or Spartacus codename PlayStation codename Spartacus.
Yep.
Is supposedly PlayStation's streaming service that could be revealed as early as this week. So this certainly has been talked about, PlayStation doing something like this for a while, since Xbox has had Xbox Game Pass for, I believe, a couple of years now. And that's a huge hit. I don't have an Xbox. I just have a PS5 and a PS4, but I know that Xbox Game Pass, again, was a huge win for Microsoft and for Xbox. Do you know anything about the Xbox Game Pass?
I don't. Is it similar to like Nintendo Switches for like their online subscription service?
Yeah, except much better. Yeah. So that's cool. So you like you have you have Xbox,
just way less shitty.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So you pay for Xbox Live, I believe,
yep.
but then you can pay for an additional monthly subscription for Xbox Game Pass. Now, what Xbox Game Pass does is say like a trying to think of a big like Halo or Gears of War, a big Xbox exclusive title that launches, right? If you pay for the Xbox Game Pass subscription, you can play it. Boom. Day one. You don't need to buy the game. You pay for the subscription. So like all these big Microsoft exclusive games that are coming out, you don't need to pay for them. You don't need to buy them because you pay for the subscription. So you can play them day one.
So you don't even have to pay for the game.
Correct.
It's like included as part of it,
of the service, and not to mention all the backwards compatibility Xbox games, Xbox 360 games, Xbox One games. They have a whole library of games like the Switch, like Virtual Console and things like that. So like I said, Game Pass has been, and a lot of the games from the older consoles have, they're taking and using the hardware of the new Xbox machines to run better, run faster, a little better graphics. So the game
charges for it?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I believe it's comparable to say like a Netflix or something like that. So like I said, it's been a very big success for Microsoft, and so people have been on PlayStation side have been wanting something like that. So here comes codename Spartacus for PlayStation. So
yeah, I could see. I mean, that's what I don't understand why Nintendo doesn't do it with their stuff as well. Like obviously, like you and I, we both have our online subscription service, and I have the upgraded one. I think the one you're paying for is like $25 a year, and I think the one I got now is like 40 or 45, something like that, because I have the Sega and N64. But again, that's just a yearly. I mean, hell, if I was paying $10 a month and I could play every Nintendo Switch game I wanted to, sign me up every day of the week.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so like I said, people love the game. Hey, if I had an Xbox, I would shell out for that. Why? Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
here's that is a way less shittier version than Nintendo Switch Online.
See, that's what I'm saying. So
but Nintendo, we still love you.
We love you to pieces. So here's the bad thing, though, that supposedly that's coming out with the PlayStation Spartacus is big launch titles like, for instance, the upcoming game God of War Ragnarok will not be releasing on that at launch. So
Gotcha.
that is disappointing because obviously God of War is a exclusive to PlayStation, although they did just launch the newest God of War game on PC just a couple weeks ago. But for the new, obviously the new God of War game coming up, God of War Ragnarok, that's just going to be a PlayStation exclusive. So games like that not coming out at launch for the PlayStation streaming service, if that is true, that's stupid. That's Sony has to be able to compete with Microsoft on that front. I think in order for, I mean, I think that people who own a PlayStation will probably still pay up for the service because, like the Xbox Game Pass, you'll still be getting classic PlayStation games, PlayStation 2 games, and PlayStation 3 games all on the PlayStation 5. And I don't know, this is the other thing I'm not sure about, is if the streaming service is coming out specifically for PlayStation 5 or if it's going to be also for the PlayStation 4. That's something that's also a question that will hopefully be answered when they talk about it.
But see, I would, again, I'm not on the committee who works for Microsoft in terms of their strategy for gaming. But to me, that would make sense to not have your newest and biggest titles available at launch. Like, I feel like if you're doing $5 or $10 a month, then you can play all these old games, and maybe you'll have access to it like 60 or 90 days after the game's release. Or maybe you do it like, okay, if a new game's coming out and it's $60, but you're part of the streaming service, you can buy it for 40. Like, to me, that would make sense because then you're getting all these benefits and it's only $10 a month. I mean, people pay $10 a month for a gym membership and never go to the gym. So for me, I feel like that'd be great. Like, yeah, I would. It's kind of amazing that Xbox is profiting so well and offering all these big time titles without having to like pay. Because you think about all the money you make off of these $50, $60 games when they release. If you're only paying $10 a month or $15 a month, and then you're still getting all those, I mean, that's a hell of a deal. It just seems like to me, I would be like, oh yeah, let's give you all these games, and then you can get like a discount on these new ones if you want to at launch. Otherwise, you have to wait 90 days until afterwards, then you get it. Kind of like there's a when like Disney Plus and then we're coming along. It's like you could go to theater, watch a movie, and like before it got released on other platforms, you could get it on Disney Plus like 30 days later or something like that.
Right. No, see, I agree. I could see that. And like I said, I believe that the new games that come out day one are the Microsoft exclusive games. I believe are the only. I again, don't quote me on that, but I believe those are the only ones that come out on day one. And actually, I just looked up the price because you're saying $10 a month, and I thought I thought it was more than that. No, so there's actually a deal right now where you can get the first month for $1, and then subscription continued automatically at $9.99 a month after that for the Game Pass.
That's pretty impressive.
That's actually, that says PC Game Pass, but I guess that's probably the same. Maybe not the same thing. No, that's so. I take back what I said.
I tell you what, if you watch our episode and you're a subscriber to the Xbox Game Pass, please send us an email and let us know how this whole shenanigan works. That's the Weird Brothers Podcast at gmail.com.
Okay. No, I take back. I take back what I said. Yeah. So that was just for the PC Game Pass. So if you just go for the Ultimate Game Pass, it is $14.99 a month. You get your first month for $1, and then it's $14.99 a month after that.
So it still includes all day one launches of like exclusive titles.
Yep. So it says here, play over 100 high quality games on console, PC, mobile devices. New games added all the time. Xbox Game Studio titles. Yep, exactly. Xbox Game Studio titles the same day as release. Exclusive member discounts. Play games from the cloud. Free perks including game content and partner offers. Also includes So and that also includes Xbox Gold. So that's Xbox Live. So to play online. Yeah. So that's included. So $15 a month. That is one hell of a deal. I mean, like I said, and so the reason why I think Microsoft went that big with it is because when it came to the PlayStation 4, and Xbox Series, Xbox One generation, so last console generation.
Yeah.
PlayStation won hands down. They won last console generation.
Yeah.
Where so Microsoft coming out and doing this big time has, I think they came out the strongest in this console generation for sure. And Sony at this time has been playing catch up, whereas before it was Microsoft playing catch up. So I think that's one of the reasons why you've seen Microsoft do this. But obviously, as myself, someone who owns a PlayStation 5, I'm happy to see them finally doing this. Will I pay for it? I don't know. Well, I'll have to see. But
I mean, if you think about it from Microsoft standpoints, from a consumer, so $15 a month, that's $180 a year. Your average new game, like your big game to come out, was $60 a game. So if you're buying 3 new games a year, I mean, the whole plan pays for itself, basically.
Yeah,
Plus
and that's
everything that goes with it.
And that's if you're someone who just buys the base game. Just about every game now, big game launch that comes out, you have the base game, but there's also always a collector's edition that comes with a few add-on contents, a new skin or a new weapon that most people usually pay up for. So now you're paying close to like $79 for the game versus the 60. So it's just a great deal. So it's really cool. I hope we do get the announcement this week, and if we do, we'll certainly cover it. Excuse me, next week for the coming week. So so I'm excited to see that.
And Nintendo, if you're listening, it'd be really cool to see you buy in on this strategy. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Just saying. All right, so that I think that covers it for our news of the week. We got a fair bit of new games coming out this week. Ken, what do you got coming at us this week for games? This week.
Yeah, so coming at us this week for games, we're going to start with Nightmare Reaper. Comes out March 28th for the PC. This is a single-player game. Steam's description reads, progress through the cursed depths of a nightmare while finding an arsenal of powerful weapons and improving your abilities along the way. This retro-inspired first-person shooter with looter shooter and roguelite elements branches the wall between classic and modern gameplay. Sounds pretty cool. So it's coming out for
like a first-person shooter version of Little Nemo,
right? With your looter shooter roguelite. Okay. So kind of, actually sounds like a pretty interesting game. Next we have King Arthur's. Next we have King Arthur: Knight's Tale. It's the official launch, so it's out of pre-release, beta and alpha and all that. So comes out March 29th for the PC. This is a single-player game. Also, Steam's description reads, a unique hybrid between turn-based tactical games, your favorite, and traditional character-centric RPGs. Knight's Tale is a modern retelling of a classic Arthurian mythology story filtered through the dark fantasy tropes with a twist on the traditional tales of chivalry.
So do you like gain experience by like opening doors for women and cleaning up? You're like, your chivalry has increased by 1 level. Excellent job there, soldier.
Your lady needs to use the bathroom. Do you stand when she leaves the table? Yes. 1 point of chivalry increase.
Perfect.
Ladies first. 1 point in chivalry increased.
Yes. You're like, you took off your coat and threw it over the puddle so she could walk over it. You're a moron. -2 points. Trick chivalry.
No.
There we go. Moving on.
IKEA
has a game.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I have no idea, but that'd be hilarious if IKEA had a video game where you just assemble pieces of furniture.
I could see it. Yeah.
I know. You're like, which Allen wrench do I use? Oh no.
Handiwork -1 point. Oh, handiwork? I don't know. Anyway, I think it's pronounced IKEA. Comes out March 29th for the PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Switch. This is a single-player game. Steam's description reads, fear and anxiety prevail after the darkest tales from Japan's folklore come to life in this first-person psychological horror game set in feudal era. IKEA revolves around the priestess of a shrine struggling to defeat the spirits of her past and her present.
Wow. Was it like an action adventure?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Well, then it threw me off because it said first-person psychological horror game. I think I would prefer the IKEA.
I mean, you got like Chex Quest, and there was a few games we covered a few weeks ago that seemed kind of.
By the way, that's on sale on Switch. By the way, it's only $3.99, down from $4.99.
Ooh!
I think I'm gonna pick that up this evening. What?
What is IKEA?
Chex Quest.
Oh, Chex Quest.
Oh my goodness. Yep. Stay with us here, Ken. Stay with us.
My bad. So coming up next, we have Abermore, comes out March 29th for the PC. This is a single player game. Steam's description reads, inherit the role of a mythical thief and pull off the heist of the century in Abermore, the first person RPG where stealth is your key to fame and fortune. You have 18 days to ransack houses, sell stolen loot, acquire new gear, and form alliances to prepare for the ultimate heist.
Sounds interesting.
It is. Yeah, it does sound interesting. Makes you think of the first Mistborn book.
Yeah, the only thing I wouldn't like is it sounds like there's like a time for it. So I hate game, especially an RPG. Like if you're being rushed, where you like I like to take my time, relax, talk to everybody. Can't really do that when you're planning a heist. They're like, you go around, you're talking to everybody. At the end, they're like, I wonder who did it. Oh, could it be that guy that was asking us all these questions?
Hey, what time are you usually home during the day?
Do you have any dogs? Do you have an alarm system? What's your code?
What's your schedule usually like? Do you have a lot of valuable items?
I know, right? Yeah. Do you own any guns?
Yeah. Well, play the game and find out.
Yeah, that's right.
Coming up next, we have Crusader Kings 3. Comes out March 29th for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. This is a single-player game with online PvP. Steam's description reads, love, fight, scheme, and claim greatness. Determine your noble house's legacy in the sprawling grand strategy of Crusader Kings 3. Death is only the beginning as you guide your destiny's bloodline in the rich and larger-than-life simulation of the Middle Ages.
Number 3. Have you played 1 or 2?
I have not.
Have you heard of 1 or 2?
I have not. But when I was looking up descriptions for this game, Steam had me put in my date of birth and everything because this supposedly had really mature content. So,
ooh, wow, sounds exciting.
Yeah, buddy. Coming up next, this is a game that got a lot of attention, but I never played. But it's Death Stranding's Director's Cut. Comes out March 30th for the PC. This is a single player game. This is from the creator of Metal Gear Solid, and there's a couple of actors in the game. The biggest one I can think of is the guy who was from Boondock Saints and The Walking Dead.
Oh, yep.
Norman Reedus.
Yes, I know.
Oh, yep. Go on. That guy.
I loved how you said it and the look on your face. You're like, tell me his name. And I'm like, I know who you're talking about. Can't remember his name. Thank you. I'm glad you remembered. Good job. Yes, that's
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. Go on, Ken.
That's him. That's the one.
Boondock Saints, by the way, awesome movie.
Very good, both of them.
Yeah. Shout out to my former college roommate Stephanie Tice, who made me watch that movie. It was amazing.
Thank you, Steph.
Nope, wait, I'm sorry. Back that up. I was thinking of a different movie. Just kidding, Steph. She made me watch. I was thinking, for whatever reason, I was thinking American Psycho. But I have watched Boondock Saints. She made me watch American Psycho.
Okay, so
anyways,
Steam's description reads, from legendary game creator Hideo Kojima comes a genre-defining experience, now expanded in this definitive director's cut. As Sam Bridges, your mission is to deliver hope to humanity by connecting the last survivors of a decimated America. Can you reunite the shattered world one step at a time?
I don't know.
Have you ever seen anything on Death Stranding?
Nope.
It got a lot of means that essentially you're just a post-apocalyptic postman.
That should star Kevin Costner.
So
the postman.
Oh, I know that movie. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it fits. So they got Norman Reedus to do it since he is in that, post-apocalyptic Death Stranding spot of Walking Dead.
I'd say Boondock Saints wasn't post-apocalyptic.
Walking Dead, you.
I know.
Okay. Sorry.
Jokes. Next, we have Uragun. This is in Steam Early Access, comes out March 30th for the PC. This is a single-player game. Steam's description reads, take control of a friendly but deadly merc unit. Face endless hordes of corrupted machines. It's mech, not merc. It's mech units, excuse me. Okay. Take control of a friendly but deadly mech unit. Face endless hordes of corrupted machines. Gear up and improvise your way out of trouble in this action-packed, futuristic top-down shooter. So if you like those top-down shooters,
kind of like Mercs.
Yes, kind of like Mercs, but you're a mech. Well, you're a mech mercenary, I guess you could say.
When you were reading the beginning of it, when you said it's friendly but deadly, I was like, is that similar to silent but deadly?
And I know a thing or two about those.
I imagine if you're
cabbage rolls the other week.
If you're a giant mech rolling down the street, they're like, do you guys hear something? He's like, he's silent but deadly. It's giant mech. He's just stomping everywhere. They're like, no, I don't hear a thing. And then kadoosh, they blow you up.
I hate it when that happens.
So no, how can you be friendly but deadly?
Well, you're a black belt in karate. You're a very friendly guy, but you could also be deadly too.
That's right. I guess so they were just saying that you take control of a friendly but deadly mech unit. So the mech, I guess it's friendly, but why would you create a friendly mech that has a capability of like blowing places up? They're like, he's a nice giant robot. He could kill us if he wanted to, but he's not going to, unless somebody takes control of him and forces him to do it. And
it's like the Terminator.
Yeah.
Well, he's an android.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Moving on. We have Weird West coming out March 31st for the PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. This is a single-player game. Steam's description reads, howdy, partner. It doesn't actually say that. I just wanted to say that. Its description reads, survive and unveil the mysteries of the Weird West through the intertwined destinies of its unusual heroes in an immersive sim from the co-creators of Dishonored and Prey. Those are actually two very big names, two very big games, Dishonored and Prey. I'm actually surprised to see that this is from those. So I've never played Dishonored. Actually, I've never played either of those games, but Dishonored, I've seen a lot of and have almost bought it multiple times. So,
what I find interesting is like the 5th gen or the latest gen consoles have been around for a while now, and yet this is releasing for PS4 and Xbox One. I mean, has this game been in development for like 10 years or? They like started developing it for the last gen consoles, and they finally came out, and they're like, yeah, but it can't be on the newest systems because we started this back when PS3 was out and Xbox 360 was out, and we are finishing it right now.
Hey, I don't know. It's fun. Yeah. At least for the PC, it's out.
That's perfect. Practice makes perfect.
That's right. Next, we have Koromon. Not to be confused with Pokemon or Digimon, but I'm going to tell you right now, it sounds pretty similar. It comes out March 31st for the PC and Switch. This is a single-player game with online PvP and cross-platform multiplayer. Koromon is a modern take on the classic monster taming genre. Tame Koromon and explore the vast world filled with thrilling turn-based battles, brain-twisting puzzles, and a mysterious threat to the world awaits. Defeat? That doesn't sound right. Brain-twisting puzzles and a mysterious threat to the world awaiting defeat. There we go. Nobody said being a battle researcher was easy. No one said that reading this was easy.
Is this mysterious threat Team Rocket?
No, it's Team Submarine.
Submarine.
But I saw some pictures of this online. Definitely, obviously, has it looks like a take on Pokemon. But check it out. Maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it'll be the next new craze. Maybe it'll be the next $1 billion game. Who knows?
You get these 3 starters. One is Haramander. The other one is Bulbasaur, and the other one is Erdle.
Erdle? Is that what you said? Urkel.
You have a game where you start as like 90s TV characters. Yeah, I get to be Urkel. You get to be, Corey.
Oh, that'd be a cool game. You have to catch old 90s TV characters and make them battle. Topanga uses cat claws.
Urkel sends his Urkelbot after you.
Oh, that's scary stuff.
That's right.
Okay, we got 2 games left.
Coming out. Games left, people.
Let's get.
If you're still with us, congratulations.
Oh, thank God. Thank you so much. So next we have Fix Fox. Comes out March 31st for the PC. This is a single player game. Steam's description reads, arriving on a curious planet. Vix in her toolbox tin explores space, fixing machines with unconventional tools and eating cozy meals with kind robot locals. On an epic adventure, the duo repairs an interstellar beacon, constructs giant mechs, and unveils a cosmic mystery that transcends existence.
We've got so many pieces to it that we should dive into. So first of all, why are you eating cozy meals with robot locals? If you're a robot, why are you eating? And then second of all, when it says you adventure, the duo repairs an interstellar beacon. I thought it was going to say bacon. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You restore bacon.
You also don't question the toolbox named Tin. It's like our toolbox, like a dog or something. Like, oh, come here, boy. Come here.
Throw me the hammer. This is a new take on like the home improvement video game from like the Super NES.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I know. You run around.
We missed that one on the hidden gems.
Oh, damn it.
Son of a gun.
Oh, great. Tim Allen's going to come after us for copyright infringement.
Those were our best Tim Allen impressions.
Coming at you live. He's like, nope, they've suffered enough. I'm not going to sue them.
For all you millions of listeners out there. That's what he does, right?
Scooby-Doo. He's like, Ruh-roh, Shaggy.
Ruh-roh is right. Okay, last one. Terabane comes out April 1st. This is not a joke. For the PC and Switch, this is a single-player game. Steam's description reads, Terabane is a comedic adventure where bugs are your friends. Enjoy exploring a crazy and outlandish world full of unique, quirky characters and homages to the history of video games. That's cool. Challenge the developer with your creativity and be the bane of errors. Interesting.
It's like somebody who like had a partially developed video game. They're like, we're going to send this out and have people debug it for us. They're like, yeah, you just let us know where we screwed up and then we'll put out a real game later on.
Perfect. That's a great game plan.
Well, so that is quite the smorgasbord of games coming out this week.
Yeah, you got that right.
Any of these you're looking forward to, Ken?
Absolutely. Some of them I'll be looking into.
The only one I really want to play now is IKEA, because that sounds like a great idea for a game. If any of our listeners steals that idea, I'm coming at you.
Yeah, we're coming after you.
I get the Swedish video game idea for IKEA.
Swedish Fish?
Yeah, those are good.
Those are good. Right. So 3 games, big games this week in history.
Yes.
Back in 1996, this week we had Resident Evil for the PlayStation come out. 26 years ago.
That may be a game I'm discussing here momentarily, by the way.
What?
Yeah, go on.
Could that be why I picked it? What?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. In 1998, we had one of the better snowboarding games, a little game called 1080 Snowboarding for the Nintendo 64 come out 24 years ago. Still doesn't beat SSX Tricky.
Yes, that's the creme de la creme of snowboarding games. Have you ever played 1080 Snowboarding?
Oh, yeah, of course.
This, my first experience with this game, I was intrigued when I saw you put this on there. One of my best childhood friends, Dennis Payne, had this game, and we played this quite a bit. It was my first foray into 1080 snowboarding. I loved it. Great game.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Done. Yeah.
Yep, very fun game. And last game we have on the list is from 2006. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out for the PlayStation 2 16 years ago.
Beautiful.
So pretty cool. I remember when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out and I bought it. I took a whole weekend and I beat the game in one weekend. Don't know how I did it, but I did. Big game. Fun game. So, Taylor.
Yes.
Big deep dive this week. What do we got?
So we thought it'd be interesting. We talk a lot about games. but we don't really ever touch on the people who make these games. So I thought it'd be cool. We picked 3 video game developers, and I just want to touch on some of their backgrounds, kind of the history of them, and just a couple of games that have been in their arsenal. I came across some pretty cool stuff. We got Capcom, Rare, and then Rockstar Games. Capcom, everybody knows Capcom. There's a slew of games they've made over the years, but they were established back in May of 1979. They originally were known as IRM Corporation, and it was created by Kenzo Tsumoto. I apologize if I butchered that name, but basically they were a manufacturer and distributor of electronic game machines, along with a subsidiary called Japan Capsule Computer. And eventually that was changed into Sandby Corporation in September of 81. Capcom came along in June of 83, and they basically were merging with Sandby. Now, Capcom, Ken, do you know where the name Capcom comes from?
Absolutely. Why don't you tell me, though?
Did you know before I put this together?
No, I have no idea where it came from.
Okay, yeah, I didn't either. But basically, it's a combination of cap from capsule and com from computers. Capcom. Basically, they were called capsule computers because they wanted to differentiate themselves from personal computers. Found out some pretty cool stuff about them. So they originally created coin-op games. Their first one was Little League, came out in 1983. And then their first big hit was a game we actually talked about a few weeks ago, a stand-up cabinet called 1942, which was released in 1984. Yeah, it was a old time kind of World War II pilot, flying game. We played it quite a bit at Fun Spot.
Yep, it's a game that they still have at Fun Spot, actually.
They do. Great game. So that was kind of like their first big hit, and then their first smash hit was one we also talked about a few weeks ago, Commando, which was the prequel to Mercs, one of our fan favorites. So that's kind of how they got their start. They were known primarily in the 80s and early 90s for a bunch of their fighting games, such as Darkstalkers, X-Men Children of the Atom, and a little-known franchise of Street Fighter. Now, I know we've talked a little bit about fighting games, that it's Ken, it's not one of your favorites, but do you happen to have a favorite of the fighting series?
Specifically from Capcom?
Yeah, I mean, have you played any of these before?
Yeah, so
other than Street Fighter.
Yes, so it's not even that fighting games aren't one of my favorites. I actually like fighting games a lot. I just am not particularly good at fighting games.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
But I do, and because we throughout our gaming in life, we've owned and played a ton of fighting games. So
yeah, we have.
So I specifically out of these ones, obviously, I've never played the very first Street Fighter. Obviously, Street Fighter really didn't what it is until Street Fighter 2.
Sure.
But speaking of Fun Spot used to have an arcade cabinet of Darkstalkers, and I loved
it. Is that part? What was the one that we played? Didn't we play? It was like a 10-1 when we were there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we played Samurai Showdown 4.
Yeah, but I thought in that cabinet they have a Darkstalkers that you could select in there. Nope. Just kidding. Okay.
Nope. I wish they did. Like I said, they used to, Fun Spot used to just have a standalone cabinet for Darkstalkers.
Okay.
Darkstalkers. Like I said, that game was always a lot of fun. I thought the cast of characters were really cool. I always I can't think of the wolf's name. I always played the guy who could transform into a wolf. I always thought that was really cool. That was a fun game. But I never played. I don't think I ever played X-Men Children of the Atom. Have you?
I don't believe I have either. I will say, like, their graphic style, especially with Darkstalkers, the colors were so vibrant.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fun game, but the color was pretty amazing as well. So, again, that's kind of what their early stuff was a lot of their fighting games. One thing I didn't know when I was doing the research on this, it was pretty cool. So in 1990, they released what was called, it was a actual bowling game called Bowlingo. Have you ever heard of this?
Not at all.
So it was actually like a mini 10-pin bowling game. So picture a 10-pin lane, but with like candle pin sized balls, and a lane that was like 25 or 30 feet long and smaller pins. And it was a full, like, functioning actual 10-pin alley that they would sell for like smaller amusement parks and like arcades and stuff. was called Bowlingo. I actually had to, if you get a chance, Google the pictures of it. It's called Bowlingo. I guess they still have some that are in like operation around the world in different arcades, but it's pretty cool. It's basically a shrunken down version of 10-pin bowling,
Huh.
which was kind of cool. And then I also found out they actually own and maintain several dozen Capcom plazas throughout Japan, which are basically just arcades that are purely dedicated to all Capcom games. So kind of picture a place like Fun Spot, but every game in there is just all Capcom games. And I guess it's a pretty popular these arcades all throughout Japan, which is kind of cool. I didn't realize that.
Oh, something I will touch on is something I remember. I think you and I, this was when we were kids, we went on a trip to Boston. It may have been when you were looking at colleges, but you and I went into an arcade, and they had a real big, like a big screen and like I guess you would consider a arcade cabinet, but for two players for Marvel versus Capcom, and that was probably my now that I think about it, probably my favorite fighting game from Capcom is Marvel vs. Capcom. I just love seeing all the huge cast of characters,
That's pretty
and
cool.
that you could have Mega Man fight War Machine and Wolverine, and
Yeah, that is
and
pretty cool. That whole
I,
series is pretty cool.
it is, and at least I remember that when I was a kid and just watching it on like a huge big screen in an arcade, being like, whoa.
Another thing I thought was interesting with Capcom is obviously they have the franchises that they've developed over the years have been pretty impressive. But what I was super surprised by is the sales of some of these. So their highest selling franchise is Resident Evil, which I found very surprising. Like it's a great series. I've only ever played Resident Evil 4, but as a collective franchise, they've sold over 120 million copies of Resident Evil. Number 2 on their list is one that you're very familiar with, Monster Hunter, which is just shy of 80 million copies sold.
Now, and with that being said, I just want to say Monster Hunter first ever released and came out, I believe, 2004.
Well, so as a franchise, they are behind Resident Evil, but as an individual game from Capcom, it's the number one selling single game. When Monster Hunter World came out, they sold almost 18 million copies just of that. And number 2 on their list is Resident Evil 7, which is only at about 11 million. So as a single game, Monster Hunter's been number 1, but as a franchise, Resident Evil's topped that. But what I found most surprising, I think, when you hear Capcom, what's the first game that comes to your mind?
Mega Man.
Same here. Before I started looking into this, I was like, this has to be. I mean, there's been tons and tons of Mega Man games. This has to be the number 1 selling franchise within the company, and it's not even close. Mega Man's number 3 on their list, and they've only sold around 37 million copies of Mega Man. And like their highest selling one is Mega Man 2, and that's only sold 1.5 million copies. I'm just like,
that is very surprising.
I looked it up and I was shocked. So I actually looked into like some other sources, and they all said right around that same number. I'm like, how is Mega Man not your number 1 selling franchise? It's the first game that comes to mind when I think of Capcom.
Did they break it down at all by region? Like, is that sort of platform, is that not popular in in North America, or not very popular in Japan?
That they didn't. I mean, the latest game to come out from Mega Man is Mega Man 11, which I actually just purchased a few months ago. Absolutely loved it. It was great, but even that's only sold 1.3 million copies. So it's, again, Mega Man 2 has outsold it. Granted, Mega Man 11 is still fairly new, and it may surpass that at some point. But I was just shocked that Mega Man as a franchise was so far behind Resident Evil and Monster Hunter. I found that quite surprising. But they also have, and then Devil May Cry is another one of their top brands that sold around 25 million copies. But yeah, there's a laundry list of games that they've come out with. I think they're an amazing franchise, amazing video game development company. I was just shocked to learn that Mega Man was not their number 1 selling product as a whole.
Yeah, and the only reason why I brought up the fact that Monster Hunter just came out in 2004, what I was meaning by that was the fact that compared to their other franchises, Monster Hunter is a relatively, new franchise compared to, say, Resident Evil, the Mega Man. So it goes to show you just the popularity. Now, certainly has always been more popular in Japan, and with the Japanese fan base, until Monster Hunter World is when it really picked up that the big kind of what's the word I'm looking for, the um the big like global, and like North America really caught its attention, with the release of Monster Hunter World.
So that's that's our coverage on Capcom. Again, I think it's been a great company to be around. They made some amazing games. Moving on from them, they have probably one of my favorite video game developers is Rare, and they have an interesting tale. So they originally were established in 1985 by a set of brothers.
They're brothers.
They're brothers. That's right. Tim and Chris Stamper. Originally, it was a company called Ultimate Play, the game, and they made games for a console called the ZX Spectrum, which is a home computer, which is only in the UK. But eventually, they realized that they can only go so far if they were just working on a console that was in the UK. So they decided to sell off the brand, and they developed Rare. And this is pretty interesting. So at the time, they knew Nintendo was right at the beginning of the NES, and Nintendo had put out actually their Famicom, which is before they made the NES here in the United States. Nintendo had said that their system was impossible to reverse engineer. And Rare said, that's cool. They bought a Famicom, basically were able to break it down, reverse engineer it, and then they sent a bunch of demo games to Nintendo and said, hey, we made a bunch of these demos for Famicom, which you said was impossible to do without your encryption. And Nintendo was so impressed, they actually bought a 25% stake in Rare in 1994, and then they eventually increased that to 49% and made them basically a second-party developer for Nintendo. Wow. I just thought it was pretty cool where Rare was like, hey, we're new to this game, but we're going to show you what we're made of, basically.
So I just want to say real quick, Tim and Chris Stamper, certified War Brothers badasses.
Exactly. So when they first came out, the first game they ever made was called Slalom, which, as you can guess, was a skiing game. And made a ton of games for NES, and they ported a bunch to the Game Boy. They had over 60 games for that. But when the Super Nintendo came along, it's really kind of when the company started to take off. They were very early adopters of basically like high development games in terms of graphics, and they invested a ton of money in what they call silicon graphic workstations. Basically, the games that you're seeing for like Donkey Kong Country, those type of graphics, they were really at the forefront of this. And they decided, okay, we put out a ton of games for the NES. We're going to scale this back. We're going to start really increasing our quality, not so much our quantity. And they helped develop what's called the advanced graphic modeling for Nintendo, which is basically the process of creating 3D graphics with a pre-rendered background. It's a very simplified version of that. But again, think kind of Donkey Kong Country.
Sure.
What I find most interesting, so they had a ton of hits for the Super Nintendo and the N64. But they only had one game that they made for the GameCube. It was Star Fox Adventure. It was the last game they ever made for Nintendo before they were purchased by Microsoft. Now, we touched on that game, I think, previously. It was a game that originally developed as Dinosaur Planet for the N64, but it was at the end of the N64's life, and Miyamoto stepped in, and he was like, he saw all these great abilities for Star Fox, and he pushed them to develop it as a Star Fox game. That's where we got Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube instead. Now, when Rare decided to sell, there was actually a bidding war for them. So Microsoft, Nintendo, and Microsoft, Nintendo, and Activision were all actively bidding for them. But I guess Microsoft came in and was like, you know what, this is the company we want, and they purchased them. And what I find so interesting is they had a slew of all these hits prior to this. They had, games like Marble Madness, Battletoads, Killer Instinct, Donkey Kong Country, GoldenEye 007, Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Diddy Kong Racing. They had all these amazing games, and they were just putting out hit after hit after hit. And then Microsoft comes along, and they didn't have another hit until 2020 with Sea of Thieves, which I just find so amazing that this game could just, this company could put out all these smash hits and all of a sudden just fall off the face of the earth. I mean, have you heard of any great games that they'd come out with after they left Nintendo, Ken?
No, I mean, just as you said, Sea of Thieves. I know Sea of Thieves is a very popular game. My good friend Tony is a big fan of Sea of Thieves, and he plays with a few guys. So Yeah.
And
Other than that,
so what? Looking back on this, what I think kind of from my own perspective is I think you can look at these consoles and everybody kind of knows what type of like if you're buying a Nintendo system, there's a certain type of game that you typically are geared towards. You're geared towards platformers, you're geared towards like family friendly type of thing. Whereas if outside of like 007 as a first person shooter, but when you go to like Xbox and Sony, I think you tend to think of a little bit more mature games, a lot of first person shooters, things like that. And just kind of was weird that Microsoft would purchase a company that kind of focused on all these certain types of games that didn't really fit the mold of the type of games Xbox made. I don't know, maybe I'm way off base here, but eventually the brothers they left the company in 2007, and basically it was a revolving door at the top of their like as an executive throughout for a while. But yeah, Sea of Thieves was kind of their next hit they made, and it's just amazing that they were around that long without really making a hit. But they do have a new one that's in the works called Everwild. Have you heard of this at all?
I have not.
I hadn't either. It's slated to come out in 2023 or 2024. I saw some screenshots of it. I guess they just released a little bit about it recently. Looks pretty impressive. Think like Legend of Zelda in terms of open world expansiveness, but the graphics on it looked really next gen. They looked pretty amazing. There's not really a whole lot of details about what the game focuses on, but it looks really, really impressive, and that'll be one to keep an eye on. It's called Everwild. So
Everwild. I'll have to take a look at
Everwild.
that.
Yeah. So I just found it very interesting that they kind of were such a dominant force for Nintendo for so many years, and then they jumped ship to Microsoft, and then they just basically put out nothing for 15 years.
Any idea what the brothers have been doing since 2007?
That I don't know. Again, I think they kind of got frustrated with. I would imagine they probably got frustrated with the direction the company was going, and kind of the lack of. Again, maybe they were just told by Microsoft these are the type of games we want to make, and it just didn't really fit what they were doing. I'm not really sure, but yeah,
great gaming company, great game developers. Truly something special for the regular, the Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
and
the
moving forward.
N64. Yeah, they. Another thing when I was researching on this, so Perfect Dark was one that was actually because they made GoldenEye 007, they automatically assumed that they'd be in the works for the sequel, and turns out they were outbid by another company, and they had already put a ton of effort into a sequel, and they eventually spun that into Perfect Dark. So that was originally supposed to be the sequel to 007, which was Tomorrow Never Dies, which I played years ago when I was in college. My roommate had an N64, and they had it, and it was nowhere near.
Had Perfect Dark or Tomorrow Never Dies.
I'm sorry, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't nearly as good as 007. Yeah.
GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye 007.
Yeah.
Anyways. So last on our list here of video game developers here, we got Rockstar Games. So it's a game still fairly new in terms of, kind of comparison to Capcom and Rare. They were established in 98. They're actually a subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive. The founding members were Sam and Dan Houser, also brothers.
They're brothers.
They are brothers, along with Terry Donovan and Jamie King. So they Take-Two Interactive acquired them. They used to be BMG Interactive, and they were the original creators of Grand Theft Auto. But they were purchased back in March of '98, and then eventually spun them into Rockstar Games, and they're considered the high-end publishing label for Take-Two Interactive. Take-Two's them and Rockstar Games. They've actually been gobbling up a bunch of other developers. In May of 19, they purchased a company called Durava Interactive. They were India video game developers, and then Ruffian Games, which is a Scottish video game developer, back in October of 2020. What I found really amazing, obviously everybody's heard of Grand Theft Auto. They are one of the largest franchises in video gaming history. As a franchise, Ken, they've sold over 370 million copies of the Grand Theft Auto franchise.
That's unreal.
Amazing. And Grand Theft Auto 5 alone has sold over 155 million copies, which is second only to Minecraft, of course, which has sold over 200 million. And then one of my favorites of theirs, Red Dead Redemption, is probably their second largest property. Again, over 60 million copies sold of that franchise, and then also very well known for Max Payne and LA Noire. And there we have it.
That is amazing. I remember watching you play through Red Dead Redemption and absolutely loving it. Red Dead Redemption was much more of my alley. Of course, again, big fan of westerns.
Yep.
I Grand Theft Auto, obviously mom and dad, they were pretty liberal when it came to the video games that we could play. We never had any bans on us as far as not being able to play certain games. So, but even with that being said, I've never been a Grand Theft Auto fan. I've never played through at friends' houses and stuff. I've played my fair share, but I've never actually owned a Grand Theft Auto game. Never played through it. Just never been a fan. Have you played any Grand Theft Auto games?
I'm not against it in any way, shape, or form. I've never even picked it up or played a single second of a Grand Theft Auto game. Seen tons of videos about it. It certainly looks like a fun game. I mean, who doesn't want to drive around and trash a city and run over hookers? But
who doesn't want to do that?
Who doesn't want to do that? Sounds like a great Saturday night to me. Just kidding. I don't think that way. But as a video game, I mean, video game's a video game. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously a very popular franchise. And the fifth one came out, in 2013? And they just re-released this on the current gen consoles, correct?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Getting that Skyrim treatment.
Just keep milking the cow, I guess, until it's completely dry.
And I know the big thing with GTA 5 is there's an online component. There's GTA Online that runs, but it has been confirmed that GTA 6 is in development. So, so at some point that'll be coming out, and maybe I'll check it out. Probably not, but you never know.
But hey, if you get if you get your Spartacus, you'd have access to all the previous games, or most of them, I would think.
That is true. That is very true. Now, this is something that I want to look up real quick. Do you remember? Only because we just GTA reminded me of it, but the game True Crime Streets of LA.
Oh yeah, that was a great game.
That wasn't by Rockstar, was it?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't believe they had the sequel. I never played the sequel, but I played through the first one. True Crime Streets of LA, and then it was I think it was True Crime Streets in New York, maybe was the second one.
Yeah,
both those came out for the GameCube, I do believe.
Yeah, no, definitely not Rockstar. So yep, there one.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that was an interesting,
very, very similar style, obviously. So,
yeah.
You're a bad guy.
Not in True Crime. Aren't you a detective in that game?
Were you? No, I thought you were.
No, you're a bad guy. No, pretty sure you're a detective.
Are you? Oh yeah, maybe you're stopping the bad guys as a detective.
Yeah,
it's basically the other half of the coin from Grand Theft Auto. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Ken, that covers episode 9. What do you think?
It's pretty good. If you
say so myself.
Obviously I am a huge Rare fan, love Rare, but if I had to only choose, how would you rank these developers 1, 2, 3, just sitting here?
Oh, I think Rare is got to be number 1 in terms of the games that they've created. I mean, from Donkey Kong Country, Jet Force Gemini, GoldenEye 007. I mean, just that those groups alone are probably some of my favorite games I've had the pleasure of playing. I mean, you're talking Killer Instinct was in there, great fighting game. I mean, Rare. It was just, again, I find it so interesting. They were such a top of the line developer who then just kind of fall off the face of the earth basically after that. How about you?
I think I'd have to give the edge to Capcom on this one over Rare. But there's no RPGs in Rare. You gotta at least have an RPG in there.
Rare. Yeah, nope. I guess I did not. Well,
now hopefully there's someone out there that's like, "Oh, what do you mean there's no RPGs for Rare?"
Well,
they're forgetting to mention.
Yeah, I know, right? That new one looks like Everwild. That, again, I don't really know a whole lot about it, but just on the screenshots I saw, it seems like it's going to have some sort of RPG elements, a la, Breath of the Wild type environment. But who knows?
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look at that. And obviously, we'll keep everyone updated with more stuff, info of that releases. But
all right, bro, I think that'll cover it for today. Yep.
I think so too. I want to give a quick shout out because I think we've missed it the last couple of weeks. Again, thank you to Aaron Slocum for our opening and intro. Hope everyone's liking it. And also big
Absolutely.
shout out to my buddy Tony. He gave me an early birthday present. My birthday's not until May, so it came in really early. But I have a brand new microphone, and hopefully it sounds nice. And yeah, shout out to
Nice.
my boy Tony. So
Sounds
thanks,
nice and
thanks a
nice.
lot, brother. Appreciate it.
Ken, you sound wonderful on this side.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Until next time. Same bro channel, same bro time.
Same bro place. Broloski, we're brothers.
Yeah.
We stand with Ukraine.
Peace.